My project is on performance evaluation of wave and tidal energy devices in a marine energy context. My research, the main focus is on tidal energy. My primary industrial partner was Orbital Marine, so they've given me a big chunk of data from their floating tidal energy device, and so it's just playing about with that data, having a look at what story it's telling with regard to the performance of that device. It came as spreadsheets, daily spreadsheets, and the recording of the data was at 5 Hertz, which means there was 5 records per second. So we're looking at 300 items of data per minute over 40 channels. So these spreadsheets were huge. I had something like 11 million rows per spreadsheet. So it was quite a challenge, on how to actually work with big data, which is probably another aspect of the project itself, dealing with big data, because at the end of the day, companies are producing all this data, but what they really want is information. So it's how to distill that data to actually get something informative from it. Obviously, nowadays, renewable energy is sort of a big hot topic, especially with climate change and all the targets that governments have got. The big one is obviously offshore wind, but it's so much more than that. It's one size doesn't fit all when it comes to needing a mix of energy sources. And wave and tidal are obviously quite emergent, they're quite new technologies, but there's a huge resource out there that's being untapped at the moment. It's very, very important because tidal particularly is very predictable. Because it's influenced by the moon and the solar, you can actually predict the tides well into the future. So you can actually work out way into the future what your power output is going to be from a device, because you know what the patterns are going to be, the tidal patterns. So it's really good for it to actually as a contributor towards the base energy needs in a country. So UK particularly have got some really good resources, particularly up around the Highlands and Islands and on the west coast, really good for tidal and good for wave energy. Tidal energy, I think, is actually very important. It's kind of quite a free resource out there. There's a lot of it, a huge amount of power potential in our oceans. And the challenges with tidal and wave energy at the moment is the emergent technology. 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, people were putting a lot of sort of research into it. But part of the problem was that they were actually starting off with really big scale devices. And they've kind of gone back to the drawing board and started off with smaller prototypes and scaling up as their project develops and they work out a lot of the problems and issues. One of the big problems is obviously funding, because it's a very expensive project, to actually develop a device. There's not a lot of information out there that's available because it's so emergent. Any information that developers have, they're not going to want to share because it gives away this competitive advantage. So it's trying to find some of that information, apply a factor you could use that'll model what the potential problems are with the slamming of the waves and the corrosion on the reliability of these devices, and then sort of what they call like a reliability budget, try and work out what the reliability budget for this device is. It's quite a challenge with the conditions. I've got 2 industrial partners for my project. The first one is Orbital Marine Power. They're a tidal energy device developer based up in Orkney in the north of Scotland. My involvement with them has been that I've been very lucky that they've given me data that they've recorded from their device. This was a full-scale commercial device, the SR2000, and that was up in the water at EMEC, which is a European Marine Energy Centre, and they have space where developers can actually put their devices in the water and test them out, and it gets connected to the grid, so there's a lot of support for them there. So I've got 3 months worth of data from them for this device. Not many people will actually want to share some of their data, so I've been very fortunate that way. Very often in projects people say, that's always the biggest problem, is they don't have the data to back up their work, whereas I've kind of gone from the opposite. I've got this big chunk of data and it's sort of pulling the work out from that. My other industrial partner is Core Power Ocean, and they're a wave energy developer. They're based in Sweden, and they have had a half-scale device at EMEC as well. I was looking for more data around the tides and that, which I got from EMEC, and I ended up getting in touch with a research group at Edinburgh University, and they were doing some work with Core Power. So that's how I fell into this, looking at reliability for them. So one of the things, obviously, my work is hoping to help reduce your maintenance costs and your operational costs. It'll bring down the levelized cost of energy of your device as well. I'm hoping that through my research to be able to have a model that can be used to predict potential power output in a location. So, I've got a Weibull curve, so we fitted it through using the efficiency of their device, and then I can use that to sort of play around. So I've got a curve that can fit, and then I can look at other sites, and so looking at the tide speeds and that, we can actually work out what the potential power output would be in a site, and you can then scale it up and down, so different devices will have different efficiencies. For me now, ongoing, it's pretty much at the write-up stage of my project. For me, I'm hoping really to go into industry rather than move in, carry on with academia. I mean, I just love learning, so I've really enjoyed it. I came to engineering really late. It was 2014. I'd been working in IT up until that time, and decided, I'd always wanted to do engineering, so got my engineering degree, and that's how I ended up doing the PhD. It was kind of, well, what next? So it's been really good. It's been quite a steep learning curve because I'm not a programmer, I don't do coding, and with my data analysis I was using Python. I had to learn how to use Python from scratch, and as part of that my second supervisor in Letterkenny, Dr. Paddy Hannigan, has been an absolute godsend. He really has. He's taught me from scratch basically. Over the last 2.5 years he's been having a weekly call with me, and we go through code and we just develop. He's helped me develop. He's helped me give the confidence to actually carry on and sort of take it to the next level. But it's been really good having that collaboration with Paddy and Letterkenny. I don't think I would have been able to continue, at least complete my project really without that collaboration with Paddy at Letterkenny. It's been really good. I think we've been very lucky in the Bryden Centre actually, because compared to some of the other UHI students I've spoken to, I've had a lot more opportunity, to go to conferences and the summer schools that we've had. And obviously through the summer schools there's been sort of a lot of site visits and talks with industry and lots of different aspects that they've covered over for us. And once again, being able to build up my own network with people in industry, I've learned quite a lot, and I've made some really important contacts.